Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Chapter 4, the Requirements Modeling chapter. I've parsed this chapter down to discuss with you all. It can be a long chapter, probably about an hour of discussion, and I'd rather not do that with you all. So I've parsed it down quite a bit. Let's go ahead and see what we can get going on in here. I'm not going to go through the objectives. You can read those when you have time. They're also posted in your book. We'll talk about some modeling. Perhaps you've realized by now how important modeling is when you're setting something up, and graphics, and we'll ask you to do a graphic again for this week, as I will for most weeks. The one of the modeling tools, as you can see right here, the FDD begins. It looks almost like a hierarchy chart, organizational chart, but you can get an idea of the functionality that will take place. It's very important to do. I almost had you do a BPM, but I think I'd rather have you do something else in here. But business process modeling is something that is really quite rudimentary. It does not take a lot of factual knowledge in order to do this. It's just basically what are you going to do and how are you going to do it, and then that should help you quite a bit. One of the things I will want you to do is a data flow diagram. I put an example on your request that we'll see in just a minute. But also here, this shows how the data flows throughout a system. You get an idea of the books right here and what's coming in and what's going out. And this I'd like you to really pay attention to, because this will help you design this even better. Again, the old days of buying products and then selling them at an increase, and then those days are over. What companies have to do now? First off, small companies are the heart of America. However, larger companies will continue to gobble them up because they can set up a flow system much better than a small business can if they don't have the ability or the knowledge to do that with. So case diagrams, I've talked about those just a little bit. I'm not going to spend any great amount of time on this either. But take a look at the visibility or the visible analyst right here, use case diagram, and get an idea of how this takes place. Just go through and look and see. Read this when you have an opportunity. Pause this and take a look at it, and you can get an idea of what happens when you use this right now, the interaction between the users and the system, and it becomes very valuable. Sequence diagrams are just that. Excuse me. The sequence diagrams show the timing. You also saw that in Microsoft Project, and you would use Project to do this right now. The next thing I want to jump to are interviews. I do ask you to do some in-depth stuff for the interviews on your activity for this week. But this interview process right here is very important, that you begin with who you interview, not just everybody, and then how do you evaluate as you finish this up. I won't go through and read this to you again. I'll let you look at this. There's really not a whole lot to this right here as far as explanation goes. The steps explain themselves on what has to happen. I will tell you to make sure you use closed-end questions. If you don't, questions like, tell me how you feel about this, that's not a very good question. If you get someone that likes to talk, then this could take days to get through when they tell you exactly how they feel. So be careful how you use your questions. One other thing is watch leading people where you want them to go. You know, if they don't like something and you continue to build it up, they're going to feel uncomfortable about talking down on that, so be careful. Preparation, as you'll hear from me all the time, what you're trying to do. Schedule this and set this up. Just an example of an email on what you do. When I interviewed people for my dissertation, the first thing that I did was contact them, and I sent them a copy of the questions. And you can say, well, you may lose the opportunistic moment I don't think so. I think you give people a chance to think what they're going to say, and they'll formulate. People like to sound smart, and especially they knew my interview were going to be recorded. They want to sound smart. They want to sound like they're doing this. So preparation, then conduct the interview. You have to practice engaged listening. It's hard to do sometimes, especially if you're not. If you're taking notes, it's okay because you're writing stuff down. But if you're trying to stay engaged to the person that's doing the talking, you're going to have to be one step ahead. If not, then you'll have no follow-up questions. So continually put yourself. This is hard to do. This is very difficult to do. You don't want to be one step behind because they will stop and pause and expect you to say or do something, and you'll have a lost look on your face. That's not good. Document it. Keep notes. Best thing to do is record it if you can. Get permission ahead of time. But I always tell people no one likes to be recorded. They don't want to hear their own voice back, and I don't let them. I tell them, though, that if they say anything that I feel that would make them uncomfortable, if it's pertinent to the interview, then I will call them and say, hey, look, you said this. I want to make sure you're okay with me using this. And that's so important. I've given interviews to newspapers before for articles, and they have misquoted me, and it's very uncomfortable. So be careful how you do that. And then what did that cause me? Well, the next time the newspaper wanted to talk to me, I told them no, I wasn't interested. If they want to talk to me, they can send me a question, and I will email my response to them. And many times they ignored me, and that was good. Evaluate what you're doing. Some interviews are not good. I actually threw interviews away. I interviewed about 20 people for my dissertation, spent about 2.5 months, and I had interviews that were unusable, and that's okay. That's okay. That goes with the territory. Other fact-finding techniques, we will finding documents, observations. And remember, you're trying to gather data right now. Questionnaires and surveys. I've developed a survey that I'm putting out right now for another topic. So it's important that you do that. Survey design, you can look at this. Make sure your surveys make sense. Have somebody take them, do a pre-questionnaire. Give your surveys to friends or critics or someone that would help you identify problem areas in there. Other fact-finding techniques, you can look at this: questionnaires, interviews versus questionnaires, and then brainstorming. I like brainstorming, sometimes called brain writing. Sometimes people don't like to talk in company in a mixed crowd. So what I will do is have them write instead, and they will write till the cows come home. They will write as much as they can. So that's always a good thing to do. And then, of course, sampling on what you're going to pull out of there. Every 10th customer. Make sure you're consistent about this. They're opportunistic interviews. You have stuff that you've heard. If you're not scheduled to use those, don't use those because you taint your interview. Research is important. Make sure you know where you're researching. The internet, IT, magazines, and books, fine. Websites, fine. Be careful. Be careful. There's a lot of junk on the internet. Just because it's on the internet does not make it so. So be very careful. Let's talk about the chapter activity right now. Again, you're going to be doing some questions. They're detailed in your interview for your activity. You'll list some requirements down. I want you to draw a DFD for this company. Be creative. Do something that's kind of cool. Here's an example I pulled offline, and yours should look something as close to this, or something as a similar type of flow. I'm looking for how data flows and where it goes from. Notice the hierarchical event where it starts with a bank account, then all the way down to direct deposit and everything. So the summarizing, I'm not going to spend any time on this. Again, I'm going to keep this fairly quick. I want you all to spend some time on your assignments and less time having to listen to me as you do this. The processes that I'm interested in are important. The fact-finding to me is absolutely paramount in trying to find interviewing or trying to find data and the truth. You want to make sure the truth is out there. So that's about 10 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this. It was quick, and I'll try to keep all of them fairly quick. Good day.